To Booth, time was running out for the Confederacy. Whatever was going to be done would have to be done quickly. All the war news was, to him, tragic. The South was collapsing, and if he didn't hurry, the war would be over, and the Confederacy would be dead, and there would be no cause to help. On Monday, March 13th, he began to call his band together, and he started by sending a telegram to Mike O'Loughlin. Mr. O'Loughlin, 57 North Exeter Street, Baltimore, Maryland. Don't fear to neglect your business. You had better come at once. J. Booth. By Friday, Booth was ready. For the first and only time, all of the conspirators were together. He asked both groups to meet him at Gautier's restaurant, 4th and a Half Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, at midnight. Early that evening, he asked John Surratt to take Payne to Ford's Theater so that the ex-soldier could become acquainted with the premises. Surratt rented a closed carriage and took Payne in Weichmann's military cape and two ladies, Miss Honora Fitzpatrick, 19, and Miss Apollonia Dean, 11 years of age. All sat in the president's box. Booth had determined that Payne was the man who had the nerve to kill, and that if there were others to kill or capture besides Lincoln, he wanted Payne with him. At intermission, Booth appeared in the dark doorway and asked if everybody was enjoying the play. He called Payne and Surratt out into the dark corridor behind the boxes. In 10 minutes, they returned. When the final curtain dropped, Surratt and Payne took the ladies back to the boarding house and then proceeded to Gautier's restaurant for the meeting. Booth had engaged a private dining room. Cold cuts and cheeses and bottles of whiskey and champagne had been set up. The actor had asked Mr. Lichow, who owned Gautier's as well as Lichow House, to please see that this party was not disturbed. At it, everybody except Harold drank freely. Booth drank champagne and did most of his talking standing up. He introduced each conspirator aloud, pointing his finger at each man in turn. The Arnold O'Loughlin wing had not met the Harold Atzerodt Surratt Payne group until now. Except for Booth, no one seemed to have any heart for the capture of Lincoln. Most of them, when permitted to speak, said that the government was already aware of the plot, and that it would be dangerous to proceed. Atzerodt sat with his brown beaver hat on, chewing on a cigar, his tiny eyes darting from face to face. Surratt, slender and pale, studied his drink and listened. Payne, big and blank, tried feebly to mask his contempt of the others. Sam Arnold, opposed to the whole thing and frightened as well, was obliged to Booth for the suit he was wearing. Mike O'Loughlin, in check trousers and fawn-colored long coat, stroked his long mustaches and drank his whiskey neat. Harold, happy to be a man among men, paid rapt attention to his idol. Booth talked on. He admitted the difficulty of removing the chief magistrate against his will from Ford's Theater. Payne, he said, would assist him in the state box. The two of them would truss the president, screened from the audience by the folding drapes on the box, and at a signal, Sam Arnold would walk on stage with drawn gun and wait below the box for them to lower the burden. At this time, Mike, below stage, would shut the petcock and the gas lights would go out. Surratt and Atzerodt would be waiting on the far side of the Navy Yard Bridge and would lead the whole party to the flatboat. Davy Harold would sit on the driver's seat of the covered carriage behind Ford's Theater and would drive out of the alley as Arnold jumped in back with Lincoln. O'Loughlin, Payne, and Booth, on single mounts, would remain in the alley a moment with drawn guns to hold off pursuit, and then would rejoin the wagon. It was simple. Or was it? Booth finished speaking and fell silent. He waited for comment. None came. His skin